Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to the GreenStone Wire Mod Spotlight. This is a brand new mod that just came out a few days ago as 0.1. It's currently 0.1.3 with a few bug fixes and tweaks that the developer put in. He seems to be working very hard on this mod to get it ready to go. Unfortunately, it's currently incompatible with Minecraft Forge, which is why you don't see most of my Forge items on my hotbar, but it's a compatibility patch that he's working on, and he will have Forge compatibility at some point, hopefully in the very near future, he said on his forum post there. The mod is really awesome, and it's so cool. I couldn't wait for a Forge compatibility patch. Once I started playing with it and saw the potential of this mod, I said I got to do a mod spotlight, get you guys to check it out, and go try it and download it. It's really cool. If you want to wait for the Forge compatibility patch, that's cool, but otherwise, definitely go grab this thing and play around with it. It's a ton of fun. So the GreenStone Wire mod, what's it all about? Let's check it out now. Alright, so what does the GreenStone Wire mod get us? Well, the first thing it gets us is some greenstone. This is the ore that you can find in the world, and you just harvest it like you would harvest any other ore, and it drops a small random amount of greenstone dust, just like redstone dust, but it's green. Ha, nice and simple, right? Yep, greenstone dust can be used for a handful of different things. The first item that you're probably going to want to use or create is called the Advanced Wire Tool. The Advanced Wire Tool is crafted with a couple pieces of iron, some greenstone, and a wire tool head. The wire tool head is crafted with iron, a diamond, and some greenstone here. Cool. So what does the Advanced Wire Tool do? Well, it does a lot actually. Let's check it all out. Alright, so what I have in my inventory here is a door. Okay, I'm going to place the door right here. Looks good. And I can even put some cobblestone around it to make pretend that it's an actual door that leads somewhere. Beautiful. And over here, I'm going to place a lever. Dun dun dun. If I want to connect the lever to the door, how would I do that? Normally with a bunch of redstone and run it all the way along here. Not so with the GreenStone Wire mod. With the GreenStone Wire mod, once you activate your Advanced Wire Tool, and you can see it gives you on the top of your screen here some information about how it all works. If you right-click, you get the options for how the wires look and act, but for now I'm just going to leave it with the defaults. I'll take a quick look. You can see how it is right now. I'll reset to default and leave it just like that and save it. Okay. To work with this mod, first you have to click on the item that's going to be the input that's going to be receiving the redstone signal. In this case, it's going to be the door. The door receives the redstone signal. So I'm going to click on this first. And you'll see that right now the only option is just input. So click on the word input, and you can see on the bottom left a little text indication, wire tool input, input. Perfect. So now we've connected the input of the wire we're about to create to this door. I can then walk over here to my lever and left click on my lever. Note that now it says outputs, and I can click on the word output. Cool. Output, output connected. Now there's this green wire. Remember when I showed you before the color of the wire is going to be green. That's running directly from there over to here to the base of the door. And it now connects the lever to the door. Check this out. Open, close. So it's kind of like a wireless redstone, but wired, and just different, very different. And if you've ever played Garry's mod and played with the wire mod, I'm pretty sure this is very similar to that functionality. Pretty cool. Now you might be saying, but Direwolf, I don't want this big ugly green wire running across the screen here. No problem. Just walk over here, and if you want to remove the wire so that they're no longer connected, just hit the R key, and you can remove the wire from the input, and it automatically removes that wire from both ends. So now the wire is removed, and the lever here will no longer control the door. Now you might want that wire to look a little bit nicer. In order to do that, you could do the following. If I wanted to, I could click on the input of the door here, input, and just have it run the wire straight over to this block. And note that it's kind of like running across the ground here, and if I were to dig up the flooring here, you'll see the wires running right to that block from the door. And then from there, I could simply click up here on the lever. Note now that the wire runs in the angle that you see, right here to the block that I clicked on, where I clicked on it, and straight over to here. Sweet. And if I want to make it even a little bit nicer looking, I could do here to the side of this block, Ta-da. Straight over to the top of this block, and then up to the lever. Cool. So you can kind of indicate which way you want your wires to run. Pretty sweet. And there's a lot you can do with it, of course. That's still not even nice looking because I'm not that good at this yet. But let's try it like this. To here, to here, to here. Cool. Look at that go. Pretty nice, huh? Alright, Dyer, that's pretty awesome, but now what do we want to see? Well, if you right-click on this advanced wire tool, you'll note that there's all kinds of cool options on here. You can control the color of the wire that you create. So your top line here is red, this line here is green. So if you want to have a red wire, you could do something like this. Or if you want it to be yellow, you could put these two together. Or orange, or kind of weirdish colors and that kind of cool stuff. You can even throw some blue in there. Sweet. I like it. So if I wanted an orange wire to run here, let's save that. We'll remove this one. Inputs removed. And we'll just left click here, 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 and here. Ta-da! Orange wire now. You can have any color you want. You can even adjust the width of the wire. So let's remove it again and bump the width up to 4. Save. Input here, to here, to here, to here. Cool. It's a little bit thicker. Nice. That's pretty awesome. If you really don't want to see the wire at all, though, why don't you just change the transparency of it? You could make it really dim or completely invisible altogether. So if you made it a little bit dim, like this, let's save that. Input. To here, to here, to here. Note that the wire is very dim and kind of transparent-ish / invisible. Really cool looking. But let's make it totally invisible. I don't want to see any wires at all. Save. Inputs to here. And I could even run it straight over to here now. Who cares how it looks? Because it's invisible. You can't see it at all. Awesome. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but every time I run one of these wires from one item to the other, it uses a piece of GreenStone dust. So if I remove this wire and then rerun it, so let's do input here and output here, as soon as I connect the output, I'll lose 1 GreenStone dust. So it does cost resources to run these wires, and keep that in mind. Alright, so I hope you guys followed along with that part, because that was the simple part of the mod. Now for the advanced and really complex stuff. This mod is about to get crazy, so let's check out the programming tool. Dun 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 dun! The programming tool is where this mod really comes into its own, and it's really pretty crazy. You can check out the recipe for the programming tool right here. You're going to need some iron ingots, a screen, and the screen recipe is some glass, some iron ingots, and some greenstone. You're also going to need a chip base, and keep in mind what this recipe is. You get 2 chip bases for this little setup of greenstone and iron. This is going to be an important piece going down the line because it's going to be used in a lot of the chips that we can make with our programming tool. So let's go ahead and get a couple of the items here that we just saw. We're going to want to get the chip base. Cool. And we're also going to want a screen. Excellent. There's one other item that we're going to need to keep in hand, and that is the greenstone wires. The recipe for that is shown here. Cool. Alright, let's check out the programming tool. What's the programming tool do? The programming tool makes logic chips. So you can see here, left click to create something or change the settings of something, and button 2, right click, is your options screen. Now in order for this to really become apparent how it works, I'm going to place down a screen. And you guys remember the screen recipe here. All I got to do is place this on a wall somewhere. I'm going to place it right here. That sounds good. And note right now that the screen is set up right now to just display the number 0. Perfect. Let's right click with our programming tool just anywhere to open up the interface. Whoa. Alright, this is pretty easy to follow. The interface at least. What it all does is really complex. The left side here I believe is just the appearance of the chip. And I hope I'm not wrong about that, but that's as far as I could tell. All it really changes is what the thing looks like. So if you want it to look like this, you choose the classic. If you want it to look like this when you place it in the world, you choose black. If you want it to look like this in the world, you choose transistor. And you'll note that right next to it, it has the recipe for that chip listed underneath. So in order for me to create a classic chip, I'm going to need 2 of those greenstone wires, 1 of those little chipset thingies, and 2 pieces of iron. The other ones might use different amounts of iron or obsidian or maybe even wool. Pretty cool though. Let's go with a classic chip for now. And over here on the right side of your screen, you have all kinds of things that might be a little familiar to you and a bunch of things that probably aren't. There's a ton of things here that I don't understand anything about. But yep, you can see all kinds of awesomeness going on. The right here are basically logic gates. So let's connect a couple things and see if we can't figure out how any of this works. The first thing I'm going to connect up here is called a constant value. Okay, this is a pretty basic chip. It has no inputs and no outputs, I think. Right, that sounds right. So let's try it out. The constant value chip. So all we got to do in order to create it is just choose over here on the left, constant value, choose over here what we want it to look like, and hit OK. Then we can go into the world anywhere we want and just left click on a block, and that'll place down that chip. Okay. Now when I have the programming tool in my hand and mouse over it, it's going to show me, or the wire tool, either tool, it'll show me what the constant value is and the inputs and the outputs. Right now there is no constant value. So remember that left click on a programming tool item to change the settings of it. There we go. You can either have a value, for example right now it's 0.0, or string. Cool, so I could type something cool in here like cool. Okay, so let's just go with a string for now, pretty simple. Alright, so right now the value is a string, inputs is blank, and outputs is the string value of cool. I like it. If I wanted to, I could break this guy, put a new one down, and make it just a value of, let's say, 2. So it's a constant value, so it's not easily changed. So let's make it 2 for now. Leave the value there. You can see it's a value. It's a float variable, if anybody knows what that is. And the value is 2.0. Awesome. So now what we can do is grab our wire tool. And remember, we want to choose our input first, and that's the item receiving the data. So I want to choose first my screen here. The input, it's going to give me options, a value or a text. I'm going to choose value because remember I made this guy over here, it has a value. It's not a string, but it's a number. So over here I need to choose value to match that. Okay. Over here I can left click and you can see the output is the value of the information, 2. Choose that. Now my little screen here is displaying the number 2. Awesome. Let's remove this value. Now it's back to 0. I should have this color line be visible. So let's go with green because green is the color of the mod after all. GreenStone wire mod. Let's make it a little bit darker. I'm going to save that and connect this thing up again. So value to value. See? Green wire connecting the 2. So this value, which is a constant number 2, is now connected to the output screen and it shows us number 2. Awesome. Does it end there? Absolutely not. Let's remove this value here. Okay. Let's get another one of these values set up, a constant value again, and I'm going to set this value to 5. Okay. And as you would expect, if I connect the value here to the value here, it's going to output the number 5. Nice and simple. Exactly what you'd expect to happen. Okay. But now let's get our programming tool and get an add value. Oh boy. Now things are about to get complicated. You ready? Okay, let's put an addition module right down, I don't know where I want to put it. Let's put it over here. Whoa, that's a complicated looking thing, isn't it? Absolutely. But don't worry, it's not terribly hard. There are 8 inputs, as you can see on the screen here, 8 inputs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and they're all float values, and 1 output, a float value. Guess what the add module does? It adds 2 numbers. I hope you figured that out. So let's connect it up. Now remember, you connect your inputs first. So left click on your add module. Okay. You need more GreenStone. All right, cool. Remember, you need some of that stuff. Okay. Which input do we want to start working with? Let's go with A. A. And we'll connect that guy to this value number 2. Cool. Now when we mouse over it, you can see A, the value is set to number 2. Awesome. If I want to connect B here, now B is connected to connected to this guy, which is a 5. So you can see A float 2, B float 5, and the output is currently 7. So all I got to do is connect this value to this value, and you can see it's adding the 2 numbers together. 2 plus 5 equals 7. Ho-ho! Now we're starting to get it. And remember, if we want to remove something, it's not a big deal. Just hit the R key on your keyboard, and we can remove B. Ta-da! Now we're no longer connected to B, so the value is 2. 2 plus nothing equals 2. And you can connect, like I said, up to 8 different numbers here. So cool. And when you break this thing, do note that you get back the raw components. You don't actually ever get these chip values. It just gives you back the components that were used to create the chip. How sweet is that? I like it. So let's check out some of the other cool things you can do in here. There's no way I'm going to cover all this stuff in this mod spotlight. There's just no way. But there's divisions, there's equals, there's all this other stuff that's crazy. Exponent, I guess that's like, you know, powers of something. You can compare two inputs to see which one's greater and output the one that's greater. Okay. There's also a less than that does the same thing. Compare two inputs and output the one that's less. Sweet. There's memory values and all this other crazy stuff that's way, way beyond my powers of awesomeness and knowing what things are what. Let's check out some of the ones we can interact with, though. Let's check out the count command. Okay, there's 3 inputs for counts: start, stop, and reset. And there's 1 output, the current value. Okay, sounds simple enough. So let's, place down this chip right here. Why not? Okay, start, stop, reset, and the count value. First things first, let's connect the count value to the chip. Connected. Cool. Let's go over here and set up some buttons. I'll be right back once I'm ready. Alright, all I did was put down some buttons and connect up some signs that match the inputs that I know are here. So remember, your inputs are start, stop, and reset. Okay, so let's connect the start button. Remember, input first. So left click here and choose the input of start, and we'll connect it to this button right here. Cool. Now if I wanted to, I could even go with a red button, a red wire, save that, and connect this guy up so that your stop is connected with a red wire. Sweet. And if I wanted to be extra super fancy, I could have my blue wire be my reset command. Reset to here. Cool. So we've hit reset. Make sure it's at 0. And when we left click on this thing with our programming tool, we can choose what our counting system's going to count. Right now it's set to count seconds. Okay, so let's output our seconds by starting the counter with the green line, the start button. Look, it's counting seconds. How cool is that? If we want to stop it, we just hit the stop button. And if we want to reset it, ta-da! We could also count minutes if we want. Let's hit start now. Sweet. And stop. And reset. We can also check out some incrementers. So there's an increment thing that only counts upwards and then can be reset. Or there's a decrement, which can decrement and increment. So let's go with the increment decrement one. That sounds neat. And let's set up another little system here. So I've changed my buttons to be increment, decrement, and reset. Simple enough. And if I get my tool here, you can see that right now the value number is set to 0. I'll get to value in a minute. Increment 0, decrement 0, reset 0. And the output is 0. So let's connect the outputs real quick. Value to value. Cool. And let's do the same thing. We'll go with green for the increments, right? That sounds good. So this button will be tied to the increment number. So now when I push the button, it should increment. Wait, what's happening? Why isn't it incrementing? Good question. Let's finish connecting everything and then we'll figure it out. Don't worry, I kind of know what's wrong. Output and reset. And I'll go with all the same colors just to save the trouble of changing the color. Okay. So decrement and increment aren't working. Why is that? Well, check out right here. You'll see that the value number right there, value, is set to 0. That's how much it increments and decrements by. And right now it's set to 0. So this is an input, okay, for value. So I need to change that. So let's get that set up. All I need to do is get another one of those constant tools. So let's get or anything really. It doesn't have to be a constant value. It could be an incremental number or a count or anything like that. Anything that outputs a value, okay? But I'm going to go with constant because that's the one I've shown you guys already. Okay, we'll put it right here. Why not? Okay, constant value, we'll make it 1. And remember, connect the receiving end first with your wire tool. Value of 1. Cool. Now note that the value is 1. And when I increment it, it should increment by 1. 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, up 1, and then the reset button. Sweet. So that's pretty awesome. There's a bunch of different things you can make. But you know what? There might be an instance where you have just so many of these different modules all hooking up to each other, and you might be trying to build something really super complex. And there might be an instance where something's not working right and you want to figure out what's wrong. And it's hard to kind of walk around to all these different machines and all these different little gates and logics and figure out what's wrong, where is it broken, what's happening. So this is where we get to the debug tool. Crafted like so, the debug tool is going to monitor one of these little gates, the little circuit machines here. Okay, the debug tool is pretty simple to use. Just left click to add the item to the list of the debugs, and you'll see it in the top right corner. Note now that the debug tool is going to keep track of this little machine here, the little circuit. And when I increment, see on the top right how it's going up? Sweet. The output's being set to 3, to 4, to 5, and the increment number is showing you, and then the decrement on the bottom, on the top right as well, is showing you how things are going. And if we wanted to, we could change this value, the constant value, just by putting another constant value thing right there and making that like 4. Okay, so let's reset this guy, reconnect this wire value to here. Now when we increment, we're going up by 4. Pay attention to the top right. See that the value is set to 4, and if we increment once, the screen here will change from 0 to 4. Ta-da! And another time it'll go from 4 to 8, if I can hit the button right. Oh, that's awesome. So awesome. And there's all kinds, like I showed you, of different little chipsets. Tons of chipsets, as a matter of fact. And you can store values in memory, you can add and subtract, multiply and divide, do all this crazy stuff. You can even check the system date and time. Let's see, what's today's date? If I just pop it right on here, the date is June 6th, 2012. Yep, that's right. Today's June 6th, 2012. Awesome. To get your debug tool to remove it, just right-click on something and it'll remove the debug tool. And you can monitor more than one thing at a time. So cool is that? If you want to remove one, just right-click on it and left-click to put it back. And if you want to remove all of them, just hit the R key on your keyboard to remove them all. Awesome. So there's the day, month, and year that's currently set up. Let's real quick just connect them up. We'll do, because I'm American and do things backwards for most of the rest of the world, month, day, and year. Look at that, June 9th, 2012. So cool. Now, as I showed you guys before, there are string functions that you can do. Right now, I think one of the very few ones that can do is just the constant value tool. I can go ahead and set a string value to something like the word cool and hit OK. And then just connect this guy up to here. Text to this guy. There we go. I think. Let's remove the value field from here. There we go. Now it's saying cool. How awesome is that? I do believe he has plans for more string functions in the future. On the wiki that he has for this, it currently lists it as in progress. So I'm sure there's going to be some more string things in the future. We'll see. Have to see where he goes with that. And there's plenty of other cool stuff he has planned. So like I said, not everything is totally implemented in this mod just yet, but it is very cool. There's a lot to do still. It's only version 0.1. The mod author has a lot of really cool plans to add to this mod, but already it's incredibly impressive. The things that you could create with this mod are pretty expansive, as you can imagine. And the work that he's done in the polish in this mod is really pretty impressive. So color me shocked. The mod is called the GreenStone Wire mod, like I said. It's not Forge compatible just yet, but it is something that he's working towards and hopes to have pretty soon. He also has a lot of expansion ideas planned and wants it to kind of work like the red wire mod that Garry's mod had, that wire mod. So hope you guys enjoyed checking out the GreenStone Wire mod. The mod author's name is incredibly hard to pronounce, but let me give it a shot. Prezuzwax Frozen? Sure, why not? PRZEZUWACZ. You can find a link to the download of this mod in the description of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and definitely check it out. Even if you just want to play around for a few minutes to see how the cool things you can make, definitely do it. It's worth a download. Alright guys, Direwolf20 signing off. Take it easy.